Click subscribe to get daily Manchester United content from passionate Reds, only on All for United.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to a bit of a different Thursday night show. We should have a tactical preview for you, but we actually don't have a game this weekend. I probably should have known by everyone posting that they're in Dubai at the minute on social media. I'm sure, Stu, you've got a lot of thoughts about that, so we'll stay clear of it. But yeah. Stu, Abdul, as ever, thanks for joining me. And we've got a very, very special guest. It's a real honour for me to welcome Callum back to the channel. It's been away for a while. How are you doing, mate?
Hello, everybody. I know you were all dying for me to come back, so I thought I'd come back from injury early, even though I'm still in agony. But
Ollie's not forced you back, has he? Too early.
What?
Ollie's not forced you playing too early, has he? Like he did with Rashford.
No, he's not. I mean, that's unfair on Ollie, I believe. But so
it was a gunpoint, wasn't it, by Ben, the gaffer? Put it on gunpoint. We, ratings are dropping. We need to get Cal back. That's what I know.
What? If Ben ever said those words, hell would freeze over. To be fair, I offered my own services because I thought I'll give it a go, see how I feel. Yeah. So this is kind of me test run tonight to see if I can return properly. But yeah, Ben wouldn't ask me to come back to improve ratings, even though he knows that it would. He wouldn't do, because he'd rather choke on his own sick than admit I'm one of the greatest ones on this channel.
He's got a point. To be fair, I'll give him that. But listen,
what do I say to that? Let me see. Let me try and get out of that nicely.
I'm riding the wave, Stu, of currently beating you in that poll for Contributor of the Month. I'm not really sure why I'm in it or why either of us are in it. Obviously, no discredit to you, but I
haven't got a clue either.
I'm about twice as many votes as you, so you can just deal with that how you want to. Because I've only been on about 4 shows last month.
Well, a question I've got then is why have you got twice as many votes as me? And what's happened to my legion of fans that I clearly don't have?
I've just got twice as many friends as you. Clearly, I've got 2.
Yes, that must be it. Who's winning then? Because I haven't even noticed.
It's Grant, but we'll won't let him inflate his ego. We'll get on with the show because this is all irrelevant. It's all irrelevant. We're just waffling.
It is. It's twaddle. Irrelevant twaddle.
Transfer window's coming to an end in a couple of days. Obviously, it's been a pretty big week or so far in terms of rumours and confirmed outgoings more than anything. So we'll talk about probably the biggest outgoing so far, probably the most needed one. I'll come to you first, Stu. Amad Diallo's, well, actually, no, it's not the biggest. Obviously, you got Martial, but we'll talk about the one that's relevant today. Amad Diallo to Rangers, confirmed. Is that a good move for you?
No, I don't think it is, actually, because I would question the wisdom of sending him up to Scotland, if I'm being brutally honest with you, because I think the idea of a loan of a player of Ahmad's undoubted ability, not that we've seen it yet, but he clearly has, a raft of ability. I'm not so sure Scotland's the right move for him. I don't think the Scottish Premier League is going to set you up anywhere near where you need to be for the English Premier League at all. I'm not saying send him out to the Championship or anything of that nature, but I would have been. Look, you have to, in my humble opinion, marry the player with the right manager. Now, most people are saying that Van Bronckhorst will play his style of football, but you're going to, if you take out Celtic and probably take out Aberdeen, he's just going to get lumps kicked out of him up there with some of the lower, the lower ranked sides. And for me, and I've been on here before saying I think it's, invaluable that the kids beef up and they understand what men's football's about. But I would
shout at Stu in a minute.
You're sorry, bud.
I'm going to shout at you in a minute.
Yeah, I know you are. But I kind of just think that I would like to have seen him gone to Southampton. Actually, I think Southampton would have been a much better fit for him. I know Southampton probably went in for him, but I think they'd have been a much better fit for him. And I think his style of play would suit Southampton better than Rangers. And the other thing you've got to think, he's going to be learning off an absolute shithouse in Morales up there, isn't he? Morales gets sent off every other week. I don't think he's I don't think Rangers have the types of role models that he needs in his development.
Well, I'll come to you, Abdul. I'll bring this comment in as well, because obviously we know that Ahmad probably of all our youngsters is probably the most technically gifted. But John brings up a really good point in that going up to Scotland, like sending him down the divisions in England, will probably help him physically more than anything. So do you think in that sense Scotland is a good match for Ahmad? Because I mean, how much more do you really need to work on his technical abilities?
I think he lacks more physicality than anything. He's been cultivated well in the Atalanta academy in terms of tactically, like where he is on the pitch, he's aware and where he needs to move. And in terms of technically, like he has very good close control touch. He receives the ball well. Very aware as a winger of his duties. He goes back and helps his fullback. So in that regard, Ahmad is not really lacking, but what he's lacking in technicality, and he's also very smart in the way he uses his body. So his body orientation when he tries to receive against someone, or his body orientation when he is running forward and trying to cut in, it's very well, and he uses his center of gravity good. But still, like the pace, the physicality, the tackles, I don't think he's used to that because he hasn't played much of professional football anyway. So I think that would help him in that regard. And being in a team like the Rangers anyway, because they're like I've read a couple of things about them. I don't know much about them. I don't watch the Scottish League. They're more tactical and a higher quality than the rest of the league. So I guess that's, good for him to be in a team that's more complex than a team that's just, relies on physicality and, route one football. So it depends on how much, like the minutes he's getting. I think it will depend a lot on that, on how much he develops and how much he improves.
Fair enough. I can't disagree with that. Carlo, just to round us off, obviously it's a much needed loan move for Ahmed. Sorry, he needs first team football at the end of the day. No matter what team he's going to, he can't stay at United and sit on the bench for another 6 months. So, is there anywhere else you'd rather him go? Do you think Rangers? Is it a case of maybe Rangers would have been a better move when Gerrard was in charge? Do you think?
No, I don't think that. I kind of believe a top team in the Championship or a Rangers or a Celtic in the Scottish League is actually a perfect move for him, actually. I kind of disagree with Stu in terms of I was going to shout at him because in terms of the physicality, for someone that constantly says about being a man and, growing up, learning the tough trades of the game, doing that in Scotland where it is a physical, tough game, will do a lot for him, I think. So I've got some stats here for Rangers. For a guy who is going to want to be on the ball a lot, who's going to want to run at defenders, Rangers is good for him because Rangers have the second most amount of possession on average in the Scottish Premier League. Only Celtic are better at 70% to 63.8%. And for Man United, we obviously know we want to press from the front. We want to try and stop the teams breaking out from their back four. So going to Rangers would be great for him because Rangers have actually won possession back in the final third more than any other team in Scotland. So it'd be good for him to learn that kind of thing at Rangers. I think Van Bronckhorst would want to play that kind of football as well. So I actually think it's a really good move for him in terms of technical ability. They're not the best players up there, but I think in terms of physicality, it'll help him learn professional football. Like Abdel said, he's not played that much professionally. So him to go and learn learn his trade not learn his trade, that's unfair. But the point I'm trying to make is for him to learn professional football that little bit more. It's probably better for him to go to such a tough, competitive and physical, not competitive, that was the wrong word, but a tough physical, it's not competitive, obviously, but a physical league like in Scotland where he's going to come up against big, strong, professional footballers.
I think you're not wrong about the competitive part, Callum, because remember, you have to gauge teams based on their own league because you're looking at them from the Premier League, so you're looking at them from the top of the mountain. But then again, when you go back to their own level, they fight to win their league, right? Because it's harder on their level. So I think people miss that part a lot when they talk about competitiveness.
To be fair, you're right. I guess I think it's more. I think the main point was really, you know, in terms of them winning the ball back in the final third, it's something that Man United are really big on at the moment and probably want to do a lot more going forward. United are always going to, in the grand scheme of things, in the Premier League, United are probably going to have more of the ball than the other team. Same with Rangers in Scotland. So it's going to, you know, there's comparisons that can be made that Ahmad will definitely learn the benefits from. And I think, you know, I get your point about Southampton, Stu. It would have been, you know, learning his trade under Hasenhüttl would have been great. Some good players down there for him to learn off as well. But I definitely don't think going to Rangers is a bad thing. I think him playing in an Old Firm derby would do him a world of good. Him playing against Celtic alone would. I think it would get him ready a little bit more for the big stage as well. And at the end of the day, the number one priority for us sending him out on loan is he needs minutes. He needs to play, and I personally think he'll probably play 90% of the games from now till the end of the season in Scotland. So all in all, I can't really see too many negatives against it, other than the fact that I'd like to see the fact that we've a couple of loans out at the moment. It'd been nice to have seen somebody come in. You know, using the money saved, it'd have been nice to have seen a midfielder come in, but that's a whole other debate in itself.
Yeah, we're definitely going to come on to that later, without a doubt. Like you said, there's a good half an hour in that, but we'll move on to another player who's been loaned out. Obviously, the biggest outgoing in terms of just pure reputation would be Anthony Martial going to Sevilla. Now, I actually want to come to Abdul first on this because I know we've discussed it on this show before as well. You're going to have some strong opinions on this because, you know, as we discussed, he probably did still have something to offer Manchester United. So how disappointed are you to see him go, even if it is just for 6 months?
I'm disappointed because we don't have someone that can take his place. And I don't mean in statistically, I mean in type. I mean in what he offers as a player, right? So we have Sancho, and then we had Ahmad, who hasn't played professionally. They're the same kind of type. And then Ahmad went out on loan. So I'm trying to rack my brain here on who else is left in the United squad that can offer us the same on-ball qualities as Martial. The closest one that comes to mind is probably Paul Pogba. But you know how people go on about, oh, why is he playing on the left-hand side? That's Rashford's place. And I think people are starting to realize how effective Rashford can be coming from the right soon. They will start to see how much he can be. And so, yeah, like it's just him leaving. The only disappointing part from my own perspective is just that we're losing that type more and more. And for a team that wants to control games for 70, 80 minutes, well, you're not helping your case by losing these type of players. You're more and more going for the type of, I need to contain and just release my runners, you know, than a team that wants to push teams back, pin them in their own box, and control the ball with their quality, you know. So that's where I'm coming from with Martial. Like, people confuse it that I'm like a Martial advocate or whatever it is. It's not. Yeah, it's not. It's not about the person. It's about the type or the qualities he's offering. That was my case, you know. Like if we have someone else who offers the same thing as Martial, I'm all good. Let Martial go. But we don't, and that's the problem.
Yeah, it's a completely valid point. Obviously, we talk all the time. We've got explosive wingers, explosive goal scorers, and you add another one of those in Elanga to the mix, which is looking like he's going to feature more and more. I completely understand what you're saying, but I'll move on to you, Stu. You've been sort of 50-50 with Martial for a good year or so now. Was it a case of he needed this move more than you wanted him to go? Because he wanted to go. There's no doubt about that. I think he's publicly stated it was pretty obvious. But did he make that move as much as maybe fans wanted that move for him?
I think it's no lie to say that he hasn't been stale the last 18 months, and he has. He's stagnated as a footballer. He's probably stagnated as a man as well. And I think it's not just I don't think it's a footballing decision 100% for him. I think it's a mixture. I think he needs a a new lease of life, so to speak. Maybe he needs to. Martial appears to be one of those, and I don't like footballers that need to be loved and all this kind of nonsense. I just don't agree with it. You know, you pay to play football, get on with it. But I think I'm with Abdel on this one anyway. As I think we've all agreed on many occasions just recently that Martial would be the perfect fall for Ronaldo, and we don't have that type of player. I'm not really even sure Pogba's that type of player, Abdel. If I'm being 100% honest, he can't offer us what Martial can do, and that's use the half turn brilliantly, hold the ball up well, you know, use his left and his right feet when he needs to. He's a very capable player, is Martial. And I just feel that I think it's a personal thing. And I just think he as a human being needed to move away from Old Trafford. When you are a player of his ability, and the world was at your feet 7 years ago when you burst onto the scene against Liverpool, to where you are today, and you've got to take a, you know, as a person, you've got to take a long, hard look at yourself, and kind of look and try and you know, understand where it's gone wrong, understand why it's gone wrong, and understand what you can do as an individual to put that right and rediscover your form. Look, we all know he was never going to make the French squad for Qatar, so that's another reason why he had to make that move. And the interesting thing already is, and you can say it's like the standard new signing. Oh, I've dreamt of playing for this club forever. It's not what Martial's about, but he just looks like the world has been lifted off his shoulders when he's standing there, and you know, when being introduced to people. So I think for him, from a personal point of view, it was the right move. From my point of view, from a player's point of view, I think we could have utilised him better.
Yeah, we probably could. It definitely goes both ways. We could have got more of him, and he could have got more of himself. But Cal, we'll finish on Martial on you then. Obviously, Abdul's pretty upset to see the back of him. Do you have that same opinion? Because I know you've consistently not really been his biggest fan, have you?
Well, I wouldn't say that. He's a bit Jekyll and Hyde, I think. I think when he's good, he's amazing. When he's bad, he's bad. Ultimately, I think the main problem with Martial was a lot of people were so destined to not want him to leave, because I think a lot of people were more worried that we knew how good he could be, and we were worried that he was going to go do that elsewhere when he did leave. And I think we wanted to stop that from happening. He kind of burst onto the scene when he came to United, especially with that first goal against Liverpool. He was brilliant. He's had, but in a sense, football in terms, I do feel a little bit sorry for him. The way I look at it is, you know, he's had multiple managers. He was originally a striker, then moved over to the left. He's not had one position stuck down. There's so many things you could say about him. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I think maybe over the past year, I think it's been clear to see that he's not been a regular starter. And with the emergence of Anthony Elhanga, I think it shows that Ralph is very happy to give those that deserve it a run in the team, which is another point with Donny. It makes you wonder why he's still not in the team, because if Elhanga's coming to the squad and coming to the first team, it's obvious that he's willing to give those a chance. So it's obvious that Martial maybe just isn't doing what's needed in training, same as some others. Fundamentally, at the end of the day, I think it was time for maybe him to move on, whether it be on loan for 6 months and be amazing and come back and set the world alight at Man United, or whether it eventually is. I don't know how long's left on his contract, but if there's enough time left on his contract, I think we could definitely demand a very good fee for him and put that back into the playing squad, and bring somebody else in. You know, I think it was time for him to move on. I wish him well at Sevilla. I'm certainly not going to go over and support Sevilla now because Martial plays for them. You know, I'll probably have a look at the games every now and then, see how he was. But you know, it's football. Players come, players go.
I thought you'd be on loan to Sevilla, Callum.
Oh yeah, I've signed the contract myself, mate. Yeah, but yeah, at the end of the day, I do wish him well. He's a brilliant player. We all know he is. You know, he's been top scorer at United for a couple of seasons during his time here. Hope he does well. Just hope he doesn't do well against Man United. It's as simple as that. You know, I'll always support former players. and hope that they do well elsewhere, apart from when they play us. It's there's not really much else to be said, really, other than he's a great player, and ultimately it just hasn't quite worked. I mean, it's worked, it's just not worked as much as it could have done. But I don't think that's down to just Martial. I think it's down to managers being at the club. I think it's down to the owners and the lack of football strategy. There's so many different variables as to why not just Martial, but so many other players haven't worked at Man United over the past 9 years.
I think it's worth noting as well, just before we close on Martial, he's only chosen Sevilla not for the club, it's for game time.
Which
So
is,
he's going for game time. He's not going for his
He took a pay cut as well, so
he has, yeah. So it's worth noting.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I agree with Stu that he was really being not neglected, but like the arrival of Cavani and then Cristiano and then others, and like he found himself just sitting on the bench doing nothing. And then he's 26 now. That's his prime years. He needs to be playing game in and game out. So,
well, just on that, that's what I mean. It is his prime years. I think that's when you look at that. At 26 years old, you should be playing week in, week out, 90 minutes every week. And if you're not, you've kind of got to look at yourself and go, why am I not? What are the reasons why I'm not? And if it's because of other players keeping me out of the team, then I need to look at why that is. And if I can't find out why, then I need to look to go elsewhere. And
you said it, Callum, earlier. You said that is because one of the variables is how we've been handling the players and the football structure in the club. Because
that's what I mean.
Again, I think one of our biggest problems is recruiting the right players that fit each other well to make a good team. And
I don't think it's just. It's not even just the players, though, is it, mate? It's the managers to fit those players and the style.
Obviously with that too as well. Yeah, like going from LVG to Mourinho to Solskjaer to now Ralph. All of these are 4 very, very different brains and very, very different playing style, and that's what you see in the reflected in the squad. The squad has way too many players from very different systems that fit those very different systems, but not enough from one system to play that system. So like if you want to play a possession game, we don't have enough players to play a possession game. If you want to play purely a counter-attacking game, maybe that's the one that we could run away with.
Ability to that slightly better, but
you want to play a Gengen pressing game, that you don't have enough players for that, but you have a couple that can play that. And that's the problem with United in the last 9 years. They have a bunch of players from everything, but not enough from one thing, and managers struggle because of this, because they can't solidify one system.
We have a very fragmented squad, and you're absolutely right. It's square pegs round holes, isn't it? But John made an interesting point about Sevilla line in second. I don't think that was his point, because he could have in fact, he could have gone to Barcelona and Real Madrid. They were both in for him. So I don't think it's his point. He's gone purely for game time. And I get that. We had this conversation a couple of weeks ago, Carl, about us three did, with regards to the Qatar World Cup. This is Jesse Lingard's problem at the minute. Jesse Lingard's got the same issue, and so is Donny van der Beek. They're all in the same boat. And this is why, if you believe the stories, whether or not they're true or not, about the Newcastle deal, in its balance, Lingard wants to go because he wants to play. So they're choosing clubs now and where they can play, not what suits them as individuals. It's where they can play. Ahmad's different. You're right to point that out. Ahmad is different. He just needs to gain the experience. And looking at the way that Martial's gone about his move, as opposed to a younger player who's being steered, I guess, in that direction. I just hope that Ahmed gets the game time he needs in Rangers. We know that Martial will. We know that Lingard will. We know that Donny van der Beek. If Van der Beek goes to Crystal Palace, he'll walk straight into that side. My only reservation about Rangers is, will he get the game time?
I think he will. I think his first few weeks there will tell if he does, because I think the really important point with Ahmad was the physicality up there. I think you said it before, mate, but it is a physical game up there, and the problem is going to be. I mean, to be fair, when I have seen snippets of him at United, I don't recall a time where I've seen him struggle. I think his technical ability has shown that he's been able to work around that. So I'm hoping.
I think it's because he played in the Europa mainly, not in
Yeah,
the
I mean
Premier
that
League.
That's
could
it.
have been it, yeah. But you know, from what I've seen of him, I've not seen that be an issue. But you're probably right; it might be because of the scenes he played. So I think the first few weeks of him being in Scotland will tell if he'll play a lot. It might be too early for him. It might be perfect for him. The main thing for him at the end of the day is he comes back in the summer and he's done a really good job over in Scotland.
So that's the key. I mean, Brandon Williams went to the right team for him. Norwich, under Farker and under Dean Smith, just for him, it's the right team for him. The right type of players around him, the right surroundings.
We had this. Sorry to interrupt you. We had this.
Right.
I remember when Brandon Williams went.
Yeah.
And I can't remember who it was. It might have been Ben. It was either Ben or Mark we had this debate with. And what somebody was saying how they were surprised he's gone there. And they would have probably, I think it was Ben off the top of my head. And he said, would you not have rather have gone to a team who were going to probably win the championship than go to a team that are probably going to be relegated? And I think me and you argued the point that it's still Premier League experience.
Yeah.
They might not get relegated. I mean, they probably will, but they might not. So that experience of fighting relegation and possibly staying up will do them a world of good. And playing against better players in the Premier League every week will do them a world of good. So you're probably right in saying Williams has gone to a very good team for him. And I think with Dean Smith there now, it's proved to be the case even more so.
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't think too much of Farker, if I'm honest, especially when it came to the Premier League. I think Dean Smith will do very well there. I wouldn't be surprised if he kept them up, to be completely honest. But this is what I mean. These players at the moment, which to be fair is probably rightly so, they are going to a team that they know they'll play, not a team that they know will suit them. Because at the end of the day, as footballers, they want to go to the World Cup. They want to play in these big tournaments, and them going to these teams to just play minutes will get them noticed. And I think that's the right attitude to have.
Yeah, agreed.
So, I mean, there's all sorts of things that you can speak about Lingard outside of the football, and things, and that I'm sure that's something else we can come on to. But at the end of the day, when it comes to purely football, which is what we're talking about right now, he will walk into that Newcastle team. He will play every single week, and if he keeps them up, like the only reason I think he's not gone to West Ham is because United see them as a closer rival at the moment, which. You can understand. As a Man United fan who wants to reach the top four, you get that. As a player as a person who admires Lingard, you'd like to see him go back to West Ham because of how brilliant he did there. And I respect Lingard. I think he's a good guy. He's a good footballer, and he deserves to play, of course. But and obviously he did well at West Ham. But
I agree there. But I think Spurs is a much better fit for Lingard. Under
I think Spurs would be more of I think Spurs would be a much bigger threat than West Ham personally.
I can see why he won't go to Spurs.
Yeah, of course. I think
footballing style perfect for Spurs. Lingard at this point in time, absolutely perfect for Spurs. Kane would love it. I think if he went there.
Go on, James. Move on.
Sorry, James.
I was going to ask about, obviously Elanga's going. Lingard's, if he stays, he's not going to play. I think the relationship now is just completely severed, which is a real shame, really. But that leaves us realistically with wide players of Elanga, Rashford, Sancho, and Greenwood. Bearing in mind, Rashford and Greenwood would probably go centrally if one of our striking options got injured or wasn't available. So you rotate in two positions between four players, which we say we're probably going to average out at about three players, given injuries to Cavani and everything, and who's going to need to fill in where. So I'll open this up to all of you. Is that a worry that we've gone from having far too much attacking talent on our books to, a couple of injuries here and there, and we don't have enough? There might not even be enough to cover it, especially given Rashford's had problems with injuries this season. So has Sancho. So you're really putting your faith in Elanga and Greenwood to stay fit all season.
I don't think it's a worry right now. I think, obviously injuries can happen in football. That's why you have a big squad to deal with it. Or you can do what Liverpool do with fake COVID tests. But like at the end of the day, that's why you have a big squad. And United have got a big squad. However, if it did happen and it was to become a worry, there's these. I don't know when it opens. There's these transfer windows. I don't know when it's open though, where you could bring players in and use it to cover these injuries and things. But I'm not sure if it's open right now. Somebody needs to tell the Glazers when it opens because they can possibly open the checkbook. Look, at the end of the day, I don't. We've got Ronaldo and Cavani for the striking options. Ronaldo, yeah, people go he's 36 and he's 37 in a couple of weeks. He's an anomaly. The guy is not 36. He's 25. He could play every week. I still think personally. Cavani's more the worry, I think, because we know his injury record isn't brilliant. We knew that when he first came in. But at the end of the day, I think we should be okay as long as nothing mental happens, because you never know with injuries. Things can happen like that. I'm still more worried about the midfield, if anything, than anything. But again, we'll come on to that, I'm sure. But at the end of the day, I think the front line at the moment is healthy. It's probably our most talented part of the squad, and I think many teams would be jealous of our attacking options, and I think we should be okay to get through the season with what we've got at the moment. Looking at the youth options as well, we could always look there as well. We've got Charlie McNeil there who could come up. We've got options at the moment. And if we were to look in the transfer market, I think there's other areas that we'd need to look at first before we ended up adding to the attack.
I mean, I agree with Carl, actually. I think we're pretty much okay. What I would say is, and you can sometimes throw the odd anomaly in there, and that is something Reese mentioned on a show 2 weeks ago. I was on with him, that you could move Bruno up alongside, or you could move Bruno up as a false nine, and then that kind of like frees up space for Pogba, the enigma. So if you do have to push up Bruno, you can always draft Pogba in if we're going to have him till the end of the year. So there are ways that you can rotate the squad. So I agree with Cal. I don't think it's too much of an issue. And football, injuries is part and parcel of football, isn't it? So but that's what I would say.
Fair enough. Well, one final question on outgoings then. Obviously, we've got it's all rumours at the minute with Van der Beek to Crystal Palace and obviously Lingard to Newcastle, and we could sit here and debate their moves all sort of evening. But I wanted to ask, there's so many loan moves, especially high-profile loan moves going out of United at the minute. Do you think this is smart business? Obviously, with Martial, maybe Van der Beek going out on loan, because then by not selling them permanently, you allow the new manager, whoever that may be, to come in next summer and sort of evaluate whether they want them or not. Does anyone agree with that sort of sentiment?
Well, this is the issue of having interim managers. You end up prolonging decisions and delaying decisions constantly. And this is the issue with having an interim. At the end of the day, I mean, we've kind of got the little bit of backup now in that Ralph's still going to be here in the summer, but in a different role. But ultimately, he's not going to be the manager. And it feels to me we aren't signing anyone and we aren't permanently selling anyone because we've got that inkling in our head that what if the new manager likes him? And that's the problem with an interim. Other clubs don't appoint interim managers, or they do, but it's not often. They'll appoint a permanent manager immediately there and then because that's what they want. And the only reason why I can't think that we didn't get one is because they just simply refuse to come mid-season. Or the targets that we want refuse to come mid-season, which is half understandable, but go and get them. Like we're Man United, go pay them, go pay the club, go pay the manager, whatever it takes. And ultimately, the Glazers and the board's failings have cost the club, and the cost the club getting the targets and selling the right players to leave because of the fundamental failings above the management. And that could again cost Man United a place in the big time. It could cost us the big trophies. It could cost us the Champions League, and ultimately, the fans are the ones that have to. The fans are the ones that have to suffer, and it's not fair. And personally, I think the loans are probably good at the moment. Some players still need to be sold, though. Isn't like the likes of Pereira is still on loan. Like he needs to be sold. There you go, Andreas. He's still like on loan. He's not technically left yet. I know Jones did well when he came back, but Jones is still going to be looking to leave. He's not being sold. Lingard shouldn't be leaving on loan. He should be leaving permanently. His contract expires in 6 months. All this is just a fundamental failing of the board and the structural problems that we've had at the club for so long. And it's going to cost United dear. And at the end of the day, we aren't signing a player for the midfield or for wherever in the squad because what if the new manager doesn't like them? Well, if we could have solved that issue when Ollie left. We could have solved that issue by getting a permanent manager in and dealing with those issues and signing the midfielders that they wanted now to give us the right push to get us further up the league, because their position is still up for grabs, I personally think. And, yeah, we're fourth right now, but Spurs have got. I get that, John, but we've had about 20 rebuilds in the last 9 years.
It's not a rebuild. You're right.
It's not really a rebuild anymore. At what point do we start going? We've got to start delivering on some success and stop going, oh, it's a rebuild, because a rebuild now feels to me it's just a bit of an excuse for the Glazers. When do the rebuilds end? When do we actually start winning? It's the same excuses constantly, and they've got to stop now. I feel like we need to let Abdel speak now.
I was gonna come to him on the next bit actually. As long as are you with us, Abdel? Yeah. All good. Yeah, sound right. We'll move to incomings then, because I don't think there is going to be any incomings by any means. I don't trust United to get a move done in a week. Never mind a couple of days. But Abdul, obviously we spoke briefly about maybe a Kamara, Haidara, Zakaria coming in. You know, these are all we spoke. They're not exactly the elite players that are going to take United to the next level. They're probably they're going to be good for the here and now. But do you think it's probably smarter to not sign these players and have them as squad players in 6 months when we sign our ideal replacements? Or do you think we're in desperate need of a midfielder now in order to secure top four? So that 10 million you'd pay for a Kamara is going to be more than worth it when we inevitably don't need him as a first team player in a couple of years.
The thing is, with this answer, it's going to be a bit long because, like, if you take out Bruno Fernandes from Manchester United's midfield and forget about Pogba because he's leaving, then Manchester United midfield, I would rate it. I don't know about you guys. I would rate it bottom 5 of the league. That bad.
Right.
Yeah. Bottom 5 of the league. So anyone you get at the moment,
bottom 5, but it's certainly nowhere near good enough.
Well, okay, let's just put it nowhere good enough. But like anyone you got from the names you've mentioned would improve us. The point is about getting someone isn't are they a big name or not a big name. The point about it is, do they fit you or not? And unfortunately, Man United have been always falling into that trap of, is he a world beater and is he going to take us to the next level? You know, how many times have you heard that? Like, this signing is going to take us to the next level. And you forget about, is this signing going to complement what we already have to achieve the goal that we're trying to reach? Like, sure, the trophies is the ultimate goal, but the goal is to play a certain way before you can get the trophies. And we're not even getting to the playing a certain way goal to win trophies. You know, like the runnings have to be very kind to us for us to actually get somewhere. So, like, if you review the year where we won the 2 trophies, the League Cup and the Europa League, the runnings were very kind, 1. And 2, the squad was, in terms of complete and fit each other, was the closest thing we've had. You know, but as talent, probably we have more talent now. But as a complete team, we probably had a team before. In around that 2016-17 area. And why? Because we had a Carrick who was controlling our midfield, even though he was at the end of his career. We had a Rooney who was, you know, still doing his part for the strikers or the players who was, you know, playing up top with him. And they were winners and leaders and whatever you want to, these, you know, tangibles that you want to talk about. But in terms of a team, they were closer and a more complete unit than what we have now. And with these signings, the only question you need to answer as a Man United, of the person who's recruiting for Man United, do they fit what we have? If I put this guy in my midfield, does he complement the weaknesses and strength of Bruno Fernandes? Does he complement the weaknesses and strength of Dalot and Shaw? You know, because they're going to be receiving passes from him and getting passes from him. You know, does he cover his space as well? Because maybe we'll use him as the anchor for the midfield. So these are the questions that they need to answer. Not is he a world beater and going to take us to the next level? You know, because he might be a world beater in the team that he is in right now, but pluck him out of that team and put him in Man United, he becomes an average player because that team is not functioning completely differently to what the team he was in functioning. You know, it's the same idea. Like Cristiano Ronaldo, for example, in Real Madrid's team. If you think that run Real Madrid had and they won the Champions League on the bounce 3 times, if you took out their midfield, Casemiro, Kroos, and Modric, and gave them Scott McTominay, Fred, and Jonjo Shelvey, do you think they won the Champions League 3 times in a row? Do you think Cristiano scores all the goals he scored? That tally probably drops to more than half. So it's how the team fits together, you know. So that's the fundamental question you need to ask. I think Haidara improves us massively, and Kamara improves us massively on the options that we have. Yeah, that's my answer.
I'll let someone jump in, Stu.
I agree 100%. I mean, you can't remember one of our first shows together. Somebody asked me who I'd have at centre half, and I mentioned Connor Cody. A couple of people laughed at me. You remember this, Cal? A couple of people laughed at me. Oh, when you talking about
one of them.
He was.
Yeah, I remember a lot of people laughing at you.
Then when I explained my viewpoint over it about his leadership, it's not about the quality of the player; it's about what he provides. Cal agreed with me, and everybody agreed with me. It's just you don't have to be a grade A superstar, one for the to fit into a team, and more often in the Premier League alone, and Brighton are a great example of it. They're a difficult team to beat. They're not a team of A-list celebrities. They're just a difficult team to beat. And whoever comes into our side doesn't have to be this world beater. He's just got to fit the system. And somebody like nobody heard of Frank Kessie till he signed for AC Milan. Now Frank Kessie is a great footballer, but he's in a team that works. Brozovic at Inter Milan, he's in a team that works. Casemiro. If you look at Real Madrid, you've got the Modric and you've got the Kroos, but you've got Casemiro. He fits perfectly, complements those perfectly. Even when you go back to the likes of Varane and Pepe, Varane and Ramos, they fit perfectly. And this is the thing that we've been struggling to find for years, not just this team, but loads of teams. We've been struggling to find the perfect partnerships, the perfect matches, the telepathy which is needed between a good group of footballers, not an amazing group of footballers, but a good group of footballers. And Abdul knows I've spoken about this for a while because we've spoken about it, haven't we? But if you remember that conversation, Carl, that was what I was getting at. If you remember, you don't have to be the best in class in your position if you fit the system.
I mean, yeah, I agreed with those points. I agreed in terms of the leadership qualities, and that. I didn't agree with Connor Cody, but I agreed. I agreed with the point you were making.
Yeah, that's right.
I think the thing that really winds me up over them about Man United over the past decade. I think it really is the radical reform that the structure needs, and I hope is now on its way, because I think if you remember 5-6 years ago, we signed Matic, didn't we, from Chelsea? I think we signed Matic because obviously of the Mourinho factor, but Matic wasn't. He was good for a year, and unfortunately, he only had it. Yeah, he was on a downward spiral. He was good for a year, but he was always only going to be good for a year. Manchester United paid Chelsea £40 million for Nemanja Matic. That £40 million went straight into Chelsea's bank account and straight back out again to Leicester's to go sign N'Golo Kante. We funded their transfer for Kante when Kante was perfect for Man United. You talk about partnerships and workhorses and the team fitting together. Kante at the base of that midfield, chasing the ball, constantly wanting that ball back. It's a little slightly different players, but the person it reminds me of the most is probably Park Ji-sung. The guy never stops running, and that was what United needed. And a football structure with the right people in charge would have known that. Whereas the Glazers just threw the money at it and said, "You want him? Go for him. It'll work for a year." And this is the issue, and you bang on in terms of the right partnerships and the right players. You can have a team full of superstars who want to play. Superstars don't necessarily always work. The best example you can give of that is PSG. You know, you've got Neymar, Mbappe, Messi,
And us.
Di Maria.
We're both in the same predicament at the moment.
Well,
We're both in the same predicament. They have a lot of superstars, and we have a lot of superstars, and neither of us can set a way of playing properly.
Yeah, exactly. I think PSG get away with it because of the league that they're in, if I'm being completely honest. They
have a better midfield than us.
This was the point I was coming on.
Absolutely.
You know, this was literally the point I was coming to, mate. Like, you know, they've got these superstars. The best player, I don't care what anyone says, but the best player for PSG is Verratti.
Oh, God, by miles. By miles. By miles.
He makes them tick perfect.
He's amazing.
To be fair, that the point where it's the French league is probably unfair because they do so well because of their midfield. You've got Herrera, you've got Verratti doing the dirty work and picking out the right passes for the likes of the superstars to, you know, to do what they do, which is perform the magic. And ultimately, United don't have that midfielder. You know, Fred is good, McTominay is good, but they're not that next level, and that's what United need to look at. But United needs to look. Those two players get so much stick and so much unwarranted and very unfair stick. I think I watch us a lot now, and I think with Ralph coming in and pushing Fred almost up to that box to box number 8. I hate using those expressions, but to that term, that's how Fred's being utilised now, and you can see how much he's been improving. You know, he started to create chances. The assists. He started to even score a couple, but he's still using that work rate that he's got. And the problem that we have is that I just don't think that next level. And I'm throwing McTominay there. They are brilliant squad players who can come in, but we're just that little bit short in midfield. And never even thought of it like that. But if Bruno was to turn around and go, like, if we don't finish top 4 this season, there's not really a lot, like Bruno's in his prime, there's not really a lot stopping him from going, do you know what? I'll leave too. And if he leaves, we are back to Pereira trying to create chances or begging Lingard to stay.
Good old Pereira.
And it's a worry. Our midfield is shocking. None of our midfield gets into City's team. It just doesn't. And when you're Man United and you have to compare why you're so terrible to Man City and Liverpool, you know there's been a fundamental failing in the structure of your club. And the way I go back to that is when Ferguson retired, he ran that club from top to bottom, and he retired. And the Glazers and Ed Woodward, to an extent, probably more so to be fair, took that for granted and did not understand what was needed at Man United. They allowed a structural failing to get in the way of Man United being able to carry on the success that was so brilliant for so many years under such a great man. And they have failed the fans for so long. So when you see the likes that the Glazers come out with £11 million dividends, but won't technically they won't give Lingard what he wants in terms of they won't fund signings that might cost £6 to 10 million quid, yet they just took £11 million out. It's
Callum, those dividends won't be an issue if they actually put a structure. No one will look at those dividends.
Exactly. And that's
no one will look at them.
No one would care.
I am like 100% sure. I don't know the ins and outs of, for example, Chelsea Football Club or Man City, but I'm pretty sure their owners take some money for themselves. But they put the best structure available for the club to be self-sustainable.
As far as I'm aware, I don't think they do take dividends, but I could be wrong. I can't be 100%.
They must be in some way. In some way, they must be taking money.
In some way, maybe a salary. But I think
they're taking money. Yeah. mean,
I could be wrong though.
But the idea is if you put a solid structure that's functioning well and making the club at least competing and has a proper team that fits each other, there is a way that we can see at least. No one would pay attention to the dividends. It's only because. Yeah,
I was about to say, I think that's what Rangnick's working on alongside what he's doing. One thing that worries me, I know it's only just rumours, that they're supposedly put the search on hold, haven't they? It's been reported on a couple of outlets because of Rangnick, what he's doing behind the scenes. Now, we've fallen foul of that before. But you are right, guys. If there was a proper structure in place, 11 million quid's fuck all to Man United. It's just a nothing. It doesn't matter if there's a right structure in place. So
but
difficult one.
It is. And the thing is, everything stems for it. Like most of our time we spend discussing this player and that player, and did this manager do the right thing or did this manager do the wrong thing? But unfortunately for us all, the biggest problem is the structure of the club, because everything else stems from it. Like, I mean, we can get a good manager. We can get Pep Guardiola himself, right? But I'm telling you, he's not going to win the league with this team. He is just not going to win it with this team. It needs to be the proper team that fits each other. And so how do we do that? You go back to recruitment. Why is recruitment is not right? Because the structure is not right. And then why is the structure is not right? Because the Glazers don't really care about fixing the structure of the club. So it all goes back again to them. At least if you're not going to get rid of them, at least fix the structure. It's kind of like you need to fix a higher problem, not the manager or the players.
The Glazers, I still kind of feel, when you see on Twitter with people still blaming managers and things, not necessarily just at United, to be fair, but when you see people blaming management, you see this, and it's really frustrating to see, because as football fans, as United fans in particular, we know how awful they've been for so long. I think it's gone past the point of being forgivable. I personally think it went past the point of being forgivable in 2005. But every failing at our club at the moment and over the past decade has been because of the Glazers. It stems down so many. So it's like a domino effect. Why are the team performing badly? Because the manager's not been doing well, or the players and the recruitment isn't right. Why is the players and the recruitment not right and the manager performing badly? Because there's no structure in place. And then that falls down. Why is there no structure in place for the right recruitment? Because there's no right directors of football and football directors. Why is there none of that? Because there's Ed Woodward in charge of that. Why is Ed Woodward in charge of that? Because the Glazers have got him in charge. Why are the Glazers in charge? Because they own the club. And they own the club because they did it on debt. There's a domino effect that stems back to the owners of the club and then the structure of the club because of them. And they get off scot-free because so many people still go, oh, well, what about Solskjaer? Or what about Mourinho? Or, what about Ralph? It's easy targets because people seem to forget how bad they are. And it's become such an issue. And United fans need to genuinely all agree on one thing, that the Glazers are the number one issue at this club. And when you see things like, when you see Newcastle fans come out and go, oh, well, you aren't saying anything now, you aren't saying Glazers out now because you signed a few players, they're completely missing the point. And when you see it on TalkSport or Sky Sports or whatever going, well, they signed a load of players.
I was just going to say that every time Sky talks about Man United, well, they've spent as much as City in the last 9 years. And I'm like, but that's not the point. The point is they spent it well, we spent it badly. So it doesn't make a difference.
I need to add to that point as well, though. Yeah, Man United have spent that. Man United haven't. The Glazers didn't. At Manchester City, the owners have spent that. In the past 10 years, the owners have put £1 billion into the club. At Man United, they've taken out £1 billion. Man United have spent their own money.
But again, Callum, even if Man United were the ones, I know they are, but like, let's say it's a hypothetical. Even if Man United were the ones, or the Glazers were the ones who are spending that million, it doesn't make a difference if the structure was not right. So let's say the Glazers are the ones putting the 1 million. I know they're not, but let's say they are the ones. They're not fixing the structure, so you're basically wasting that 1 billion. And that's the fundamental difference and problem.
Money's available, but it's not. It doesn't matter because it's not being spent.
It's also worth replying to Liam as well. That actually debt's got nothing to do with who we buy and who we don't buy. Anyone can service debt, and we service debt, and it has no effect on our. In fact, many of the big businesses in the world, the global conglomerate, have debt.
They all perform on debt.
Yeah, Apple has. Everybody has debt. It doesn't matter debt.
I've not been on for a while, and I've seen some very decent points from Liam, so I'm quite impressed with him, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I think he's new. I haven't seen him before. I think he's new. As I say, all I was making a point is providing you can service your debt, which we can, it doesn't matter. Debt has no bearing on what you can and cannot buy. It's a completely separate.
I think the best way to describe Man United and the priorities and because of the structure of the club is we've got an interim manager in charge now. Would there be an interim chairman or interim head of business? They'd never put an interim person. They'd never put an amateur. You could even use Solskjaer for this example. Solskjaer didn't have the experience required to manage a club like United. You could use that argument. Would you hire me to be in charge of the business side of the deals for Man United? Because I have no experience. That would never happen. Yet they're happy to hire interim managers when it comes to the football side.
Yeah. I think the biggest issue with the interim is that they stay till the end of the season. If you hire an interim for 3 games until the other guy is freed from his other obligations, yeah, sure, no problem. But we hire the interim and he stays and we see if he's going to perform well so we can hire him as a permanent manager. So that's the problem.
I mean, there's been talk in the chat that 1 or 2 people want to see Rangnick stay for a further 12 months or a further season.
The only thing I want from Rangnick is the 2 years of consultancy.
Yeah.
I don't really care what he's going to do on the football pitch. I want the 2 years of consultancy.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Because he's gonna. I don't know how much power is he getting, but if I'm hoping he gets so much power because he will revamp that structure.
Well, here's the thing: he took over Red Bull and they're worth 120 million euros. No, they're worth 1.2 billion.
Yeah, Leipzig was in the 4th division of the German league, and
he did that
competing
by
in the Champions League.
Talent, didn't he? He did that by identifying talent to be able to point you through, not by managing them.
Yeah, actually, this hits on a very good point. I think I've mentioned before, like a while ago, is that we're still focusing on hiring a manager, seeing what they like, and then getting the players for that manager, instead of saying that, you know what, as a Manchester United football club, we've always been the team that plays possession-based football, for example, right? We're gonna make our analysts and recruiters hire players that are suitable for this game, right? And then get the manager that plays this game. And then when the manager comes, he said, like, maybe if we can upgrade on this guy a little bit, we can get someone different, right? But no, we have a mixture of so many different players, so many different styles that don't work with all the managers. And then we get the manager and we haggle and hassle with him, trying to find what suits him and what doesn't suit him. And that's one of the main issues. Like, I mean, let's take City, for example. They were preparing for Pep's a long time ago, since Pellegrini was hired.
Yeah, absolutely.
Since Pellegrini was hired, they were preparing for Pep to come after him. Yeah. And I bet you money that Erik ten Hag is the first one on their list after Pep leaves, because he plays the same type of football.
Yeah,
100%. Like, he's the biggest candidate for them, and I'm pretty sure the successor of Pep Guardiola, because he was an assistant under Guardiola at Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
So that's Erik ten Hag for you. Yeah, see, there's a plan. There's a succession plan. See,
never
has been.
Maybe we've got maybe we've got that now with Rangnick in terms of he's already identified whether it's Pochettino or whoever.
I hope so. I don't think it would come in that quick. I don't think it'd be such a succession plan that quick. That would be so.
Yeah, it will take time.
It'll take time. It's quick. Liam's asking about profit and debt, etc. It's more of a balance sheet exercise, to be honest, Liam. It's serviced on the business side of the football club, the PLC, not the actual football club itself. So it's the holding company that services the debt, not the club.
Might be worth doing a show or something on something like that in the future. But yeah,
I understand Liam's point. I'm not saying he's wrong. We've got to service the debt, but the holding company, will service the debt rather than the football club itself.
I'm just going to get Stu and Cal to just do a show on the Glazers and why they're such arseholes. I think that'd be a good hour reviewing. I'd tune into that. I'll make sure. I'll forward it on to Ben. I'll send the idea through. But I know we're obviously past the hour now. I know obviously Cal, you have to get off. So we will wrap it up unless anyone has anything else that they desperately want to add.
No, it's been a great show. Good to have you back, Cal. Good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you guys.
So the same. Good to have you all back. Sorry, it's not.
Is it good to see James, lads? Have I got to say that as well?
27% of that vote would say that it's good to see James. Only 18%.
27% of that fucking vote is wrong.
I said guys, so I meant all three of you. So I'm good.
There you go.
I'll throw you vote. You haven't yet. Don't get and vote for me, pal. Show me some love. Show me some solidarity.
Oh my god.
There needs to be some serious Istanbul.
I don't know what you guys are voting on, to be honest. So I don't know.
It's all right.
Tell me where to vote, and I'll vote.
Don't panic.
A little popularity contest, but we are going to bring it to an end. Thank you very much, you three, for joining me. Thank you very much, everyone in the comments and everyone who tuned in. Thank you for joining us. If you did enjoy, be sure to subscribe. You get to see more of Callum's lovely face. But yeah, like the video, subscribe, stay tuned for more content this weekend. We'll try and get as much as we can done without a match day. It's not going to be easy, but bear with us. Yeah, like, subscribe. See you later.